There are celebrities who age gracefully out of the spotlight. And then there's Marie Osmond, a woman who has lived so many lives within one lifetime that it is almost impossible to believe a single person could carry it all. At 65, she stands at a place most people could never fully understand, shaped by decades of fame, loss, reinvention, and a quiet kind of courage that has never made as many headlines as it deserved. The woman the world thinks it knows, the girl with the bright smile on Saturday night television, the country singer with the perfect voice, the doll designer, the talk show host, is only one version of Marie. The real version is far more complicated, far more human, and honestly, far more remarkable. To understand where Marie Osmond is today, you have to go back to where she started. And the beginning of her story is not glamorous. It is the story of a little girl who never really got to be a child. All of Marie Osmond came in the world on October 13th, 1959, in Ogden, Utah. She was the eighth of 9 children and the only daughter born to George and Olive May Osmond, a deeply religious family who were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Her brothers had already begun performing as a group, appearing on the Andy Williams Show in the 1960s, and that success pulled the entire family toward Los Angeles and toward a life defined by performance. Marie made her first televised appearance at the age of 4. By the time most children are learning to read and making friends on playgrounds, Marie was already learning what it meant to be watched, to be judged, and to perform. She has said in interviews over the years that she cannot remember a single day of her childhood where music was not being practiced, played, or sung in some form. That sounds beautiful on the surface, and perhaps it was. But it also meant that Marie's identity was tied to her professional life before she was old enough to truly know who she was apart from it. Her relationship with her brother Donnie was one of the defining bonds of her early life. The two were inseparable, described by Marie herself as rambunctious partners who could wear their mother out without even trying. That closeness would eventually become the foundation for one of the most recognized variety acts in American television history. But before any of that, Marie was simply a little girl growing up inside a machine that did not always remember she was a child. By the time she was a teenager, Marie had already made a decision that set her apart from her brothers. While the Osmonds were firmly in the world of pop music, Marie gravitated toward country. She has explained that country music, particularly in that era, offered something she was looking for, a genre where a woman could have a career and still be seen as a full human being with a family and a life beyond the stage. At just 14 years old, she recorded a cover of Paper Roses and released it in 1973. The song went straight to the top of the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart, making her the youngest female artist in history to reach #1 on that chart at the time. The achievement was extraordinary. Here was a teenager from Utah, the only girl in a family of performers, carving out her own lane in Nashville and winning. More hits followed. She proved she was not simply riding the coattails of her family name. She had a voice, a presence, and a work ethic that matched or exceeded anyone around her. Then came the Donnie and Marie Show. Beginning in 1976, the sibling variety program became a fixture in American living rooms. It was colorful, musical, funny, and irresistibly watchable. Donnie and Marie were charming together in a way that felt completely genuine because it was. Their bond was real. But what viewers at home could not see was the pressure that existed just beyond the camera frame. Marie was a teenager working weeks that would exhaust a grown adult, surrounded by an industry that expected perfection and had very little patience for anything else. The most difficult parts of Marie Osmond's story are not the ones you find in old television clips or entertainment magazine archives. They are the ones she eventually chose to tell herself, often years or decades after the fact, when she had found the words and the distance to do so. During the peak years of the Donnie and Marie Show, Marie was subjected to treatment regarding her appearance that would be considered unacceptable by any reasonable standard. An industry figure told her, in the most degrading and cruel language imaginable, that she was a problem to be managed rather than a person to be respected. She was a teenage girl. The impact of those words did not fade quickly. They planted something inside her that took years to recognize and even longer to heal from. For a significant period of her life, Marie struggled deeply with her relationship with food and her own body. She has spoken about this herself in her memoir and in interviews, describing the lengths she went to in order to try to meet the impossible standard being placed on her. The death of singer Karen Carpenter in 1983 affected Marie in a way she has described as a turning point. Not because the loss was not devastating, but because it forced her to look honestly at her own situation and at the letters she was receiving from women who looked to her as a model of what a woman's body should look like. That realization changed something in her. It did not fix everything overnight, but it shifted her perspective in a way that she has credited as genuinely life-altering. Beyond her own internal battles, Marie has also spoken about surviving physical abuse as a child. She was careful in how she shared this, not identifying those responsible, except to say clearly that it was not her family. She described being threatened into silence, told that speaking out would destroy everything her family had built. She carried that secret for years. She has written about the way abuse damages a person's sense of their own worth, and how even long after the circumstances have ended, the internal effects can persist in unexpected ways. The fact that she eventually chose to speak about it at all required a kind of bravery that tends to get overlooked in conversations about celebrity. There was also a terrifying car accident when she was 16. She lost consciousness while driving, and the crash was serious enough that both she and her mother, who was a passenger, were rushed to the hospital. Her mother's injuries were severe, and Marie spent that night believing she might have caused her mother's death. She did not. Her mother survived, but the experience left a mark on Marie that she has described in deeply personal terms, including a vision she says she had during that hospital night. One that she credits with giving her a sense of peace about life and death that she has carried with her ever since. When the Donnie and Marie show ended in 1979, Marie did not disappear. She returned to her country music roots, signed with Capitol Records in the mid-1980s, and scored another round of chart-topping success. She also developed a remarkable secondary career as a businesswoman, creating a line of collectible dolls that became one of the most successful product lines in QVC's history. She made her Broadway debut in The King and I in 1994. She reunited with Donnie for a network talk show in the late 1990s. She appeared on Dancing with the Stars. She and Donnie established a long-running residency at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas that lasted over a decade. Through all of it, Marie continued to be honest with her audience in ways that not many public figures were willing to be. Her book on postpartum depression, published in 2001, was ahead of its time in terms of the openness with which she described her experience. She wrote about the complete darkness that had descended on her, the inability to feel joy or connection, the moments where she frightened herself with how low she had gone. She has said the book was never intended as a personal confession, so much as a message to every woman who had ever felt the same way and believed she was alone in it. In 2013, she sat down for an interview in which she spoke about her daughter Jessica, who had come out as gay. Marie's response was exactly what it should have been: unconditional love. She said she never questioned her support for her daughter, not for a single moment. She acknowledged that her heart hurt, not because of who her daughter was, but because she knew the world could be unkind, and no mother wants her child to face cruelty. She pushed back against any narrative that love should be conditional, and she stood by that position even when it put her at odds with others in her family. Marie's personal life has been complicated in the way that honest lives often are. Her first marriage, to Steve Craig in 1982, ended in divorce by 1985. She later married record producer Brian Blosel in 1986, and together they built a large family, 2 biological children and 5 adopted children. That marriage lasted 21 years before ending in 2007. Marie has spoken about that decision with the kind of honesty that tends to make people uncomfortable, saying that she believed it was better for her children to see 2 people separate with dignity than to grow up watching 2 people make each other miserable. What happened next surprised even Marie. Her son helped arrange a meeting with Steve Craig, her first husband. They reconnected. They dated quietly for 2 years. And in 2011, they remarried at the Las Vegas Mormon Temple, with Marie wearing the same dress she had worn nearly 30 years earlier. She has described that second marriage as something she did not see coming and could not have engineered if she had tried. She has spoken about how different it felt the second time around, how much of what had once seemed critically important had simply fallen away, leaving only the things that actually mattered. In January 2010, Marie Osmond's son Michael, who was 18 years old, died by suicide. He had been struggling. In the years since, Marie has spoken carefully but honestly about what she knows of his suffering. She has described him being targeted and bullied, and has said she still has the messages that were sent to him. She has expressed the grief that comes not only from losing a child, but from carrying every question that follows such a loss. The things you wonder if you missed, the moments you replay, the weight of wondering what you might have done differently. She returned to work 1 week after his funeral. Many people criticized her for that. She has explained her reasoning in terms that are straightforward and real. She did it for her other children. She wanted them to see that life does not stop, that love continues even when it is wrapped in grief, that going forward is not the same as forgetting. 9 years after Michael's death, she told a television interviewer that she did not believe grief ever truly ends. She described it as something that gives you breathing room and then returns with its full force when you are not expecting it. She described the ripple that one life leaves behind. Her words had the weight of someone speaking from deep personal knowledge. The Osmond family has known grief in a way that few families could sustain. Marie and her siblings lost their mother in 2004, following a stroke. Their father passed away in 2007 at 90 years old. In 2014, a 7-year-old granddaughter of her brother Jay was killed in a devastating accident. In 2000,